All right, so a good place to start, obviously, asking the question, what is leadership? It's such a simple question. You know, it's one of the most searched questions on Google when it comes to leadership. It's searched sometimes hundreds of thousands of times a day, every day. It seems like such a simple question, yet it continues to beg the question, what is it? You know, and a lot of times when we look at leadership, it's easier sometimes to start with what it isn't. You know, I think it's important to understand that leadership definitely has nothing to do with your position or your seniority in a company. You know, a lot of times people talk about an organization's leadership and they're referring to the most senior executives at the top. But remember, leadership doesn't always happen when you reach a certain pay grade. It happens all throughout the organization. And in fact, most leadership happens at the middle and below. It also has nothing to do with titles. And just because you have that title doesn't automatically make you a leader. We learned that a lot in the Marine Corps. You know, position and title is only going to carry you so far, but it doesn't have anything to do with your titles. You know, the title does not make you a leader. It has nothing to do with your personal attributes either. You know, I talked about so many times in my early phases of leadership, I was so wrapped around the word or the thought of charisma, thinking it had to be my personal attributes. I had to be tall, a booming voice, a square jaw. It's not those. It's not this take charge, charismatic, larger than life figure that makes you a leader. Remember, like I said, it's all about learning how to be calm, confident, consistent, and courageous. That's going to help you develop your own natural charisma. It isn't management either. Leadership is not management. There's another lesson in here that talks about the difference between leadership and management, but just know that it isn't management. Sometimes we use it synonymously, but it's exactly different. They're not synonymous. You know, if you manage things, you manage processes. You know, you need to plan, measure, coordinate, you know, hire, fire. Those are manager things. They're managing things. Leaders lead people, right? You know, sometimes it's fun to look at some of the best quotes on leadership and what people think about them. And there's some well-known leadership gurus. Warren Bennis, leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality. Napoleon said, a leader is a dealer in hope. Peter Drucker says, a leadership is lifting a person's vision to high heights, the raising of a person's performance to a higher standard, the building of a personality beyond its normal limitations. And then, of course, John Maxwell, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. So again, it still begs the question, what is leadership? You know, it certainly encompasses far more than what most of us think. It certainly starts with leadership of yourself, leadership of others, leadership of leaders, business level leadership, enterprise level leadership, on and on and on. But if you had me in an elevator and I had 3 floors to give you my definition of leadership, it would simply be this. Leadership is the facilitation of a process of tapping into unlimited human potential and turning it into desired results. So in tapping into unlimited human potential and turning it into desired results, all through people. You see, we're all given and born with these God-given talents, right? But that isn't enough. You know, talent does not equal results. It doesn't. I'll say that again. Talent doesn't equal results. We put a huge emphasis on talent in this society. If talent equaled results, then all successful people would be talented. And they're not. If talent equaled results, then all unsuccessful people would be untalented, and that's not true either. We know this from our own personal observations, don't we? How many of you know wickedly talented people who just don't seem to get the results they deserve? On the flip side, how many people do you know, successful people that you know, seem to lack some talent? Again, they're everywhere, aren't they? Look, talent will help. You have to be good at something, right? If you were put on this earth to do something, if you wanted to be a pilot, you have to be a good pilot. If you want to be a good professional athlete, you have to be good at the sport. Talent is a given, but that's never enough on its own. Something else is needed to drive sustainable results. And that catalyst is necessary to crystallize this unlimited human potential into results is leadership. You know, one of my favorite books when I was going through the certification process with John Maxwell is Talent is Never Enough. And he's got some interesting statistics in this book, Talent is Never Enough, and I want to share them with you here. And one of them is that more than half, 50%, of all CEOs of Fortune 500 companies graduated with a C or C minus average. I'm not a big fan of politicians right now, but I find these two statistics interesting, that 65% of all U.S. senators came from the bottom half of their graduating class. 75% of all our U.S. presidents, the same thing. And my favorite statistic here is more than half of all millionaire entrepreneurs never even finished college, if they even started at all. So the point is, we should re-examine some of our beliefs around why people are successful. Talent is a given, but we must earn success. Because here's the reality about leadership and success. How well you lead determines how successful you are. It's as simple as that. How well you lead determines.
Today, we're going to talk about a prime motivator to get the best effort out of your teams and individual people. It's called the power of purpose. It turns out that among the top motivators of people in the workplace is that a sense of purpose, a sense of mission, a sense that what they're doing matters, a sense that they matter too. So, what is purpose and why does that play out on your job with such power? Well, let's talk about it. Purpose is the idea that it's not what they do, it's why they do it. Now let me do that again. It's not what they do, it's not the tasks that they're doing with their hands, it's why they're doing it. So what does that require? First, it requires you as a leader to develop the big picture. This is what the project is. This is how you fit in. This is what we're trying to accomplish. This is what the schedule is. This is, whatever it takes in order for them to get a bigger sense of the role that they're playing and what you're doing. Number two, individual contribution. They need to know that what they do matters. There isn't anybody else on your job site who's going to help people feel that way, that they matter, that they have significance, and that the work that they do is significant. That's something you need to talk about and reinforce all the time. They are important, and the job can't be done without them. Their efforts are important and matter. Their efforts not only on productivity, but on safety, on training, on mentoring, all those things come back to their importance and their contributions. The key part of developing a sense of purpose is to hear it from someone else, your leader. It's really hard for you to self-generate that from within. As a leader, you probably have a greater capacity to do that. You probably have more ambition, and more drive, and more self-purpose. But not everyone is built that way like you. So keep it in mind. Purpose drives people. You have the ability and the responsibility to pass that on to people every single day out on the job site. The power of purpose. Don't miss it. You're a professional. Now go get it.
So what do we do next? We need to understand that designing tomorrow means the leaders need to do three things. 1, 2, and 3. We need to actually embrace discomfort. Can I ask you all to stand, please? I want you, please, to put your hands in front of you and clasp them like this. Do you notice which thumb is on which one? My left thumb is on my right one. If you're like me, put your hand up now. And now, if your right one is on your left one, it's your turn to put your hand up. Hands out again. Jazz hands, jazz hands, jazz hands. Together again, and this time I want you to put the other thumb on the dominant thumb. You got that? How does that feel? Weird. Thank you. Embrace that discomfort. Sit down. We're not done yet. Sit down. 2 more points. The second thing we need to do to design for tomorrow is we need to go beyond tolerance. Tolerance to me is this. It's me holding my nose and saying this. I don't like you, but I'll put up with you. It's me plugging my nose and saying, I don't like you, but I'll put up with you. Tell me who merely likes to be put up with. Not I, not you, not us. If we set the bar at tolerance, we're setting the bar far too low. And lastly, we need to design from a place of love and not from a place of guilt. And this requires behavioral empathy. And most of us understand the most commonly used expression or metaphor for empathy is to do what? To walk a mile in somebody else's shoes. Well, this is what leaders need to do. They need to actually take their shoes off first. They do. Because our shoes, our experiences, our sense of self, our views of the world hold us back in really understanding the fact that others have a very different experience of the exact same circumstance. Embracing comfort, moving beyond tolerance, and experiencing and living out behavioral empathy will not only make us better leaders, it'll make for a more meaningful and engaged society. And to me, that is what leadership is about. Thank you.
We're going to talk about how to find and do work that you love. Let me introduce you to this concept. It's called Ikigai, and it means thing that you live for. And it's broken down into 4 circles like this. And it talks about what do you love? What does the world need? What do you get paid money for? And what are you good at? So what happens if you love something and the world needs this? This is considered a mission. Now, if you're good at something and you love it, but you don't get paid for it, that would be considered your passion. And if you're good at it and you're paid for it, that's called your profession, a job. And then the last one is the world needs it and you're paid for it, but you may not be good at it. So we're going to call this a vocation. So Ikigai is to say that we must find something here, our reason for being. And this is really important. You must love it. You got to get paid for it. So all these things are in balance. And if we can design our lives around that idea, we'll be happier, healthier, and wealthier than we've ever been.